MMA showdown. Now the ultimate
Let's get it on!
Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now the ultimate Octagon insider, Shaun and Tristen DuCross.
All right, good evening, everybody. We are the DuCross Brothers, the Sports Warriors. I'm Tristen DuCross. On my side, as always, is my brother, Shaun DuCross. I'm Tristen DuCross. What an incredible show we have in store for you guys tonight. We got UFC, ESPN, Fight Night again coming up. So we're going to preview that card. We also got, Shaun, again, Ryan Garcia versus Oscar De La Hoya. And boy, there's a lot to cover in that. And it's nobody's really talking about it, so we figured that we will talk about it because, you know, we're the DuCross Brothers, so why the hell not, right? So in the meantime, first up, UFC, we got Curtis Blaydes versus Volkov.
Yep.
I almost feel like that could have been a better pay-per-view than their last pay-per-view.
True.
Like, I look at this card and I'm thinking, like, oh, man. This should have been a pay-per-view card over the Amanda Nunes fight.
Yes.
Like when I saw that pay-per-view card, we weren't alone either. You know, a lot of people were agreeing with us on our last show when we were saying that that's not a pay-per-view card. But you look at Curtis Blaydes and Volkov. I mean, two top 10 heavyweights going at it. Ultimately, you know, this is going to set up a heavyweight battle, right? Hopefully for a title shot down the road.
And there's only one way that this leads to that way. And you're talking about two of the premier heavyweights in the division. And I completely agree with that sentiment that ultimately whoever comes from this one is the number one contender for the heavyweight title. But the heavyweight division is so weak that, I mean, who else really behind them right now is at the elite level? I mean, you're looking at two guys, Blaydes and Volkov, that, I mean, are finishers. They finish their counterparts a good portion of the time. Blaydes is ranked number 3. He's got wins over Overeem. He's got wins over Santos. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He's just coming off of a second-round knockout of Junior Dos Santos. I mean, what more can you ask from him? But then you look over at Volkov. Volkov is 5-1 in the UFC. The guy has finished Roy Nelson, Stefan Struve, and freaking Verdun. He's a finisher. 20 out of his 23 victories have been finishes.
Absolutely.
My goodness, this guy drops people.
What's interesting, though, when I look at this, styles make matchups, right?
Absolutely.
What I like about this matchup, though, is that you have two big guys.
Yes.
Volkov is what? Like 6'7"?
Yeah.
Something like that? So when I look at Volkov being 6'7", he doesn't have much of a reach advantage over Curtis Blaydes at all. So when I look at these two guys, I'm thinking, all right, styles make matchups, and I'm looking at both of them. And I think Curtis Blaydes, his focus coming into this fight should 100% be on wrestling. I don't think you keep this fight standing, even though that you have really good power, right? And I think the way that this fight goes will be the egg game of Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes should win this fight. I just don't know if you could put it past Volkov, because if this fight stays standing, Volkov has pretty good power.
Yes.
It could drop Curtis Blaydes if he connects with one of his power shots.
Yeah, and you're talking about that. You're talking about power, and wouldn't put it past Volkov. I completely get that, because when I was looking at Volkov's history, Volkov is one of those guys that you put him into a corner and he comes out and surprises you. Many people are saying that Blaydes is going to walk away as the victor in this. I would not be surprised if you see Volkov walks away as the victor. The only way that Blaydes wins this fight in my eyes is if Blaydes gets the fight to the ground.
That's what I'm saying.
If Curtis is able to get the fight to the ground, then I believe that this is Blaydes' fight to lose. I mean, to win. But he's got to get the fight to the ground. If he stands there and bangs while he's a good striker, you look at how many bouts that Volkov has been in, and he's got 30-plus wins. He's been here before.
I also think that the longer this fight goes,
Yes.
deeper into the waters, this will go to Curtis Blaydes too. So as long as this stays in the game plan and the mindset of Curtis Blaydes, it's his. If at some point he gets out of the game plan, Sean, you have to look at Volkov. But, I mean, my pick is going to be Curtis Blaydes. I think it's Curtis Blaydes' fight. I think this is his opportunity to get back into the title contention. And I just think that this is not Volkov's night.
I'm going to go the completely other way. I've got Volkov.
You have Volkov,
I
really?
see Volkov is going to surprise a lot of people, and he's going to walk away with his hand raised, and he's going to wait for the outcome of DC and Stipe.
Interesting.
Miocic. I think that's how it's going to play out. But it's like there's a drop-off because that's about, you've got the main event and then you got the co-main event. And the co-main event is interesting because you got Burgos versus Josh Emmett in the featherweight division. These guys are going to go to war. And again, you got Josh Emmett,
a savvy veteran,
right? And you got a guy like Shane who's coming up fast in the rankings and he's making statement after statement. But the difference is that you got Shane who's been fighting. His last fight was 7 months ago. Josh Emmett
hasn't fought in over a year.
Yeah. How much rust is he going to have?
That's always a question, ring rust. That's always the question about you have a long layoff. Can you come back? Is the rust real? Absolutely, the rust is real. The rust will always be there. It's how quickly he could shake it off. But it's good to see Emmett coming back, though, because Emmett is on a 2-fight win streak, and his last 2 fights were 2 knockouts. So the confidence is there.
Yep.
Because remember, Sean, this was a guy that was destroyed by Jeremy Stevens. Like, his face was rearranged. He had multiple surgeries on his face. And to come back and to secure 2 wins in knockout fashion, the confidence should be there. You have a year off, year layoff, that rust has me. And to know that he is a little bit longer in the tooth, a little bit older, right? What is he, like 37, something like that, 35 years old, somewhere around there? Shane is only 29, so Shane's been more active, been more lively. I see him having the edge, but I never want to put it past the veteran, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that Josh Emmett's been here before, shook off that horrific facial fractures, to come back, that says a lot, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So, again, 2 guys in the featherweight division that is just on an upward trend. And being on the fast track up, I'm going with Shane. As much as I like the veteran, the savvy veteran, and phenomenal knockouts by Josh, I just think it's too much for an active fighter to be active, to be out there, to be doing what he needs to do. I just think it becomes too much, Sean.
You got a boxer versus a well-rounded mixed martial artist, I guess you can say.
Very true.
Shane's the boxer.
Mm-hmm.
Emmett is the wrestler. If Emmett wants to win this fight's got to get to the ground.
Right.
It seems like that's the common theme for the co-main event and the main event. Get the fight to the ground.
Right.
That's the way to victory. If you stand up with Shane or you stand up with Volkov, the end is near. I fear for those guys. But it should be an entertaining night of events because, again, it's in a 25-foot cage. Just saying, the percentages are there that are showing that there's about a 10% increase of finishes in a 25-foot cage. Whether Dana White wants to admit it or not, the slight edge is there. It's going to be interesting.
I like it. I really like it. And then I also have to just touch on it. I have to. Because it's interesting to me, Sean, is that you have the girlfriends fighting on the card.
Yes.
Raquel Pennington versus Renault, and then Tisha Torres versus Brianna Van Buren. And I had to talk about these two because they're both on the card. Raquel is so hit and miss. I feel like that this is going to be an awkward night, and Tisha Torres is the only one that comes out the victor.
And then you got to think that if Raquel Pennington does not win on the main card,
what's next for her?
And Tisha Torres wins on the prelims.
Mm-hmm.
How does that really translate?
Right.
Like, is that awkward at the end of the night?
That's what I'm saying.
And then at the same time, it's like, so what do you do about Raquel Pennington?
Does somebody sleep on the couch for having a rough night?
Right? Or at the end of the day, does Raquel Pennington contemplate retirement if she loses?
It's just an interesting dynamic, honestly, when you're seeing both of them on the card and you see the kind of the rough patch that Raquel has kind of hit. And on paper, you think Raquel wins this fight, so maybe both of them win. I'm just thinking about the possibility that one wins and one loses and what the outcome is.
Yeah, maybe.
But also on the card, too, also on the prelims, Courtney Casey. I've been picking her every step of the way, and she has proven me right every step of the way, so I'm going again with Courtney Casey in her fight. It's nice, though. On the prelims, there's a lot of women fighters.
Yeah.
So I applaud Dana White for that. Because at least
local talent Lauren Murphy's on there,
right? Roxanne Monferry is on there, so a lot of women fighters on this card. I love it. I love to see it. Give them the little bit of respect that they deserve, and it's going to be an interesting fight night. Absolutely, it's going to be on ESPN or ESPN Plus. They have me like all.
They have it just saying ESPN,
right?
But
so
I really kind of hold my breath when they say UFC on ESPN right now because they've had several cards that said on ESPN and then it's not. The last one, 10, was. So I'm assuming this one will be as well. So I guess we'll see. But speaking about UFC on ESPN, UFC on ESPN 10, I just want to touch on the fact that, man, Jessica Ai versus Carvalho in that main event was kind of awkward at times. Like they were talking about her keep to the game plan, but the game plan wasn't working. And it was like, really?
I don't know if I necessarily like the fact that I can hear every single thing all the time from the corners.
Because it's a little bit frustrating when you're listening in the corner and it says, stick to your game plan, stick to your game plan. What game plan? Because clearly it's not working. If you're the corner, don't you adjust?
Right.
Don't you tell
Or
your
how many
fighter
times
to
did I
adjust?
say, how many times did you hear, throw a leg kick, and you're already prepared for the possible leg kick?
Like, I'm confused.
So I don't know. I'm not necessarily. I mean, we've called fights, so we hear the corners all the time.
Yes, it's always there.
Right. It's always there. I get it. But man, sometimes like if you're a fighter and you're listening to the other person's corner, and you could like literally be like, you could do whatever you want, say whatever you want to your fighter. I will counter every single thing that fighter is doing because my fighter IQ is better than yours.
Yeah.
So, like, if you could zone out your corner and pay attention to the other corner, victory. Most of the time. And the fact that you can, because you can hear in a lesser audience with no noise, with nobody yelling at the top of their lungs about what's going on inside the cage, fans cheering, that's different. So I don't know. That's the only one thing that's been bugging me lately. The more and more I keep hearing it. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Yeah. Brought up in the chat was maybe come up with some code words from the corners. I absolutely agree with that.
Oh, just like chilling, stealing signs in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, just something to change what the corners are doing, because at this point you have to change something, Sean.
Yeah,
because you're all the advantages that you had, because when the fans are so loud, it kind of tones out the corner. Now that you can hear the corner, dude, you can even hear the announcers talking about the fighters, and the fighters are responding to what the commentators are saying. Need to change it. Need to change something. I think so. But something needs to be changed in the boxing world, because Ryan Garcia, Oscar De La Hoya is at it again. And boy, Sean and I, we had an intense conversation about this.
And guess who won?
Whose fault is it? The Zone or Golden Boy?
Who do you think won? Who do you think won this debate?
Sean's been all over Cited, posted about this, getting some very interesting takes. So we'll get some of that. But your boys, Shaun and Tristen DuCross, will be right back after this break. And we're going to discuss the Ryan Garcia situation in boxing. Is he right? Is Golden Boy right? Is DAZN right? Who's right in this? Ain't nobody talking about it, but your boys will be when we come back. DuCross Brothers, cross the line. Be right back. The DuCross Brothers, the Sports Warriors, a combat sports talk show like no other with Shaun and Tristen DuCross, where we talk about combat sports from mixed martial arts to Muay Thai to professional wrestling, you name it. We got you covered on all aspects. We also preview live events, cover live events. So if you want something different, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on Facebook and on YouTube, you can catch the DuCross Brothers, the Sports Warriors. Cross the line. All right, everybody, we are back. Shaun and Tristen DuCross, the DuCross Brothers, cross the line. Shout out to our sponsor, Anti. CBD oils, rubs, you name it, they got you covered. Just use the promo code DuCrossBros and you get 10% off of all your CBD needs. Just go to iloveanti.com and get it. You could also go to our Facebook page, DuCross Brothers. Click the pin link, get your subscription for ESPN Plus. You'll enjoy it. You get to watch all the UFC events all on there that are covered. Also, that's where you can watch all their pay-per-views as well. So definitely worth checking it out. In the meantime, Sean, before he signed the multi-year deal with Golden Boy, Ryan Garcia was not happy about his pay the first time. Now, he is in the thick of an issue again with Oscar De La Hoya. And as he was supposed to fight July 4th on DAZN, that is scrapped because he did not want to take the minimum $200,000. He said, no, I am good. You are not going to disrespect me. So here we are. Ryan Garcia versus Oscar De La Hoya, round 2. And the question that comes up is, how did we get here?
Right? And how did we get here when we just were crossing the bridge about a year ago? And yet now we are all over again, and we're here into 2020. It seems like 2020 is just an absolute horrible year. Like, let's just phone it in and call it is what it is. Because it doesn't seem like it matters right now whether it's professionally, personally. 2020 has just been a bad year. And it's really a train wreck. And it continues for athletes. In this case, Ryan Garcia. You were on the fence. Okay? We had this debate for about 20 minutes last night. What side are you on? Are you on Oscar De La Hoya Golden Boy side, or are you on that?
Well, explain to them why we are here about the DAZN versus Golden Boy situation and who's at fault. Okay? DAZN is in financial trouble.
Yes.
The pandemic has put a wrinkle in a lot of things, okay, for DAZN. Their subscriptions are horrible. They're losing money. They're bleeding. Okay? This isn't the only fight that has had money issues with DAZN. DAZN signed a deal with Golden Boy as some kind of executive producers behind the back door of Golden Boy. Golden Boy gets money from DAZN to pay certain fighters.
Not just to pay certain fighters, Tristan.
Right.
They get money from DAZN as part of the agreement
for licensing fees and the purses and everything else like that.
The money that they pay to Golden Boy is to pay for the purse money.
Yes.
They go, here you go, Golden Boy. Here's your money. Here's your purse money. It is up to Golden Boy to deviate that how they see fit. See, so how we got here. The issue, let's backtrack, because like my guys on cited, was that this was very confusing.
Absolutely. It was. Because that's where our argument was last night about where we were for what we seemed was almost like an hour discussion about both sides of the spectrum for us to finally come together and go like, dude, wait a minute.
Yeah, so let me try to simplify this as much as I can.
Yes.
Okay? So, Golden Boy wanted to put on a fight card for July 4th.
Correct.
DAZN wanted to hold off until September.
Because of the pandemic.
So, it was Golden Boy who pushed DAZN to come back sooner. So, DAZN said, okay, but we have a limited budget. Golden Boy said, that's fine. There's a pandemic. There's no fans.
We understand.
We understand. So that is part one of the issue. Now, I'm assuming that in this discussion here, Golden Boy had already announced that Ryan Garcia was going to headline the July 4th main event for the return of Golden Boy.
Ahead of what DAZN originally said.
So that must have meant to me, and then later on to you,
right,
is that you had already had preliminary discussions with Ryan Garcia about the limited budget. The limit on Ryan Garcia's contract is $200,000.
And previously, the two fights before he fought at what?
$250,000. So you're giving him a $50,000 pay cut because of no fans. Okay? Ryan Garcia backed out of that. Ryan Garcia said, I'm not going to go ahead and fight for $200,000. Okay? When I heard that, I was like, okay, that's just Ryan Garcia's campaign petty. Like, you take wins and you take some losses, you take some bumps, it is what it is.
100%.
Then you dig a little bit deeper and you realize there's an underlying issue here. So you go back to last year in the first bout issue with Golden Boy. Ryan Garcia was touted as the next Golden Boy, that he was the next big thing.
The future of the sport.
He wanted to make double with what he was being offered by Golden Boy.
That's where the first contract, the multi-year contract came in, where he was originally making only $50K.
And now he got bumped up to $500,000. With the understanding that his minimum pay is $200,000 at the bare minimum of what he's able to make. Okay? So where does this all sort of just fall off the rails? Because then Ryan Garcia says, oh, I want to talk to DAZN. But DAZN has no control over fight pay. I don't care what you read, where you read it, or how you read it.
Right.
Because you read it that DAZN pays fighters. But they're listed as what?
Executive producers.
Which has no what?
No bearing on decisions.
Financial decisions.
Financial decisions. So they could go, we're going to give you, like I told you, ended up saying, I could give you $3 million to a company, and then that company disperses it out among whoever it is on the bottom dollar.
So again, let me make this perfectly clear. From DAZN, DAZN agrees to pay a promoter a set license fee over the year. The promoter determines the purse.
Yep.
Not DAZN. So why Ryan Garcia wants to go to DAZN to find out the pay only means one thing. If
Somebody's
Oscar
lying.
De La Hoya and his Golden Boy people are trying to wash their hands and say, oh, DAZN's only willing to pay X, Y, and Z.
So we can only give you X, Y, and Z.
But yet, again, like my analogy was, Tristan, was what? If DAZN gives Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions $3 million and says, here you go.
$3 million among 10 people. Just give you an understanding.
If you say, oh, let me give you about 10 fights. 10 fighters, which is 5 fights on the card. So you divide 3 million by 10. Roughly gets you, if my math is right, gets you about 300,000 for every fighter. So that means Ryan Garcia should get 300,000 at the bare minimum.
So where is all the financial money going?
So when I posted it on our fellow site of Cited, everybody joins hands and says Golden Boy is at fault here.
And when we're talking about Golden Boy, who is the Golden Boy? Oscar De La Hoya. And as much as people like Oscar De La Hoya, he does and has had several shady past subjective things happen or come up in his past.
Absolutely. And we heard all the horrific stories about the Golden Boy MMA and how he failed to pay fighters,
failed to stand by the commitment that he made to Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. Lied about the pay-per-view buys, lied about the gate, lied about the fighter pay. So you see the common theme here?
So it makes Dana White's whole issue with Oscar look more real than ever, where a lot of people thought that it was just smoke and mirrors. It was just Dana White being Dana White. And you know what? Let's just say this and see what happens.
Right.
But the underlying issue here is we're looking at all this, and it's a train wreck that points all fingers back at Golden Boy.
What is the one thing that if you point your finger at somebody, right, you essentially have what? 3 or 4 fingers pointing right back at you.
Yeah.
Right? Don't point fingers at somebody because it's eventually going to come back to you. And what's interesting is that, again, why, if you're a promoter or you are a matchmaker or you are in the line of a big authority figure, why would you take a shot at your number one fighter, Shaun?
Right? You're
because
one guy.
Why would you take a shot? You're supposed to be on the same side, bro. Same side. Ryan Garcia, on his Twitter page,
before he deleted it.
Right. because, I am who I am, and I'm going to grab that. I don't care who you are. I'm going to grab it. But Oscar De La Hoya,
It's funny because everybody grabbed that same image before it got deleted. It was funny.
dude, you had to. Quick, grab it. But that's what I'm trying to learn, is to do this a little bit more, is find the headlines and I'm going to just rip it from somebody and be like, so this is what he said. But Oscar De La Hoya said, due to the team King Ryan G decision not to accept July 4th bout, we will now return in late July with the future of boxing, Virgil Ortiz. More exciting details to follow.
See how he used the word there? Future of boxing? When the future of boxing was Ryan Garcia?
Right? And then I love Ryan Garcia's response. You do realize you're supposed to beat my promoter, not a hater, right? This isn't the first time. This is the second time that, again, we are here between Ryan Garcia as well as Oscar De La Hoya. And my thinking is that he wants upwards of $500K a fight. Yet he signed the deal for the new one. He hasn't really fought anybody in the top in boxing at all. So I don't necessarily think that he has a leg to stand on saying that I want $500,000 for a fight. But then you look at every fight in boxing and you look at the kid that's supposed to be the future of the sport, and he gets paid less than Devin Haney? Like, and what are we doing?
Here's the other glaring issue that I have, Tristan. So, a unnamed boxing manager came out and said that he would not even pay. An unnamed manager came out and said that he could get Ryan Garcia anywhere between 10 to 20 times the amount
correct
that he's getting underneath Golden Boy. And then you got Bob Arum, who came out and said that he's not even worth $200,000.
Right.
But
and that's kind of what I think.
But my rebuttal to that is that if he's not money worthy right now, that's only because of his lack of high level fights. So why is he not getting top 10 guys? Why is he not fighting guys like Tank? Why is he not fighting guys like Devin Haney? Who's really at fault here? Is Golden Boy kind of really sandbagging him and trying to hold him back and say, you know what, as long as he's under contract, we're going to do what we want as what we want? Because that's the vibe that I get.
That is the vibe that I get. That is the legit vibe that I get. I get that Golden Boy has a future star. They don't necessarily know what to do with him.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that's making triple the money outside of boxing than what he's making right now in boxing.
Yeah.
So again, your prodigal son,
the next Golden Boy,
basically you just spat in his face
again
for the second time. And you tell him that he's not worth X, Y, and Z, but everybody else on the rosters were made more than him. And because he signed a contract, he's obligated to it. Yeah. I get that. I 100% get it. But if you start seeing other people make more money than you don't think that you're kind of like, hold up, wait a minute. I want my dues. I want my pay. I make more money outside with modeling and the Instagram and the TikTok. I make more money. So pay me what my worth is before I go in there and get brain damage, or I'm going to sit on the outside. We've seen Paige Van Zandt make more money outside than she does inside of the cage. She has made, granted she's coming back now, but she's had multiple injuries that has set her back, but financially she's stable because of her income outside of the cage. Ryan Garcia is in the same boat. So if I'm Golden Boy and I'm Oscar De La Hoya, man, I am thinking long and hard about the possibility that you may lose Ryan Garcia. And this kid is the future of it. How many times has Ryan Garcia said, give me Devin Haney?
How many times has he said, you know what, I'll go ahead and take on Tank?
But yet you don't? And now you don't want to pay him? You want to pay him the bare minimum because the zone gave you the bottom dollar and I don't know what you did with the rest of the money, but you ain't giving it to anybody else. It's pretty messed up if you ask me.
Yeah, so at the end of the conversation, Tristan, as you can hear, came back over to my side once he was blaming the zone and blaming everybody else except for seeing who the real culprit is. Golden Boy.
It's just horrible. It's just horrible that we are here talking about a promotion like Golden Boy that should have been at the top of the food chain, right?
Yep. Because it's ran by
Oscar De La Hoya,
the Golden Child.
But we got Matchroom Boxing, we got Top Rank, and we keep talking about issues with Golden Boy. Where does it stem from?
If you're not Canelo Alvarez,
you don't matter.
Bringing in millions and millions of dollars,
you don't matter.
No. And that's what this makes it sound like, as if, so you've got Canelo who's up here, and then essentially Ryan Garcia should be here. But the contrast between the two is here and here.
But see, that's
as you can see, you can't see my hand, can you?
No.
My bottom hand. That's where Ryan Garcia is right now. This is where Canelo is.
But again,
but at least it should be here.
I feel bad though for Ryan Garcia because whoever's in his corner did him no justice.
Yeah, and his advisor is Lupe Valencia. And like my question I have is, if you're Lupe Valencia and you're his advisor, how do you even get yourself into conversation talks about a limited budget knowing that he may be lowballed? You had to have an inkling or an idea of the money that may be tossed around.
Right.
Or you have to have known the shadiness behind the scenes, no?
Somebody had to have known, Sean.
Somewhere there's a disconnect
in every aspect.
Yeah. And trying to figure out where the complete disconnect is, it's hard because you can fault Ryan Garcia a little bit for putting him himself in the situation of opening up the discussion.
I don't know if I would put this on Ryan Garcia. I think it's his advisors that put him in this situation. Hey, this is a good deal. This is a good deal. But in reality, when you're breaking down the financials, it is not a good deal. It is not great amongst anybody. And for a guy that is viewed at a high level, is getting paid the bare minimum, and you want him to take a pay cut, and he says no. Where are we at right now with Major League Baseball, Sean?
Nowhere.
Where are we at with NBA? We're getting somewhere.
Correct. They're going to play in Orlando at Disneyland.
But again, nobody wants to take a pay cut. That's kind of what I think. Honestly,
you can't say that they're about getting the quick buck because they bailed out. I just think they didn't know how to communicate correctly and get all the financial numbers in order. That's where I think it went wrong.
But Sean, talking about the quick buck reference, I think maybe I'm wrong, but this is how I take it. Quick buck is what Golden Boy's doing. Taking the money, taking excess money, extra money.
Yeah.
Pocketing it.
Yeah.
His advisors that said, hey, $250K, that's a great deal. Great deal. But we're going to put a clause in there for a minimum of $200K. So at any point in time, if they deem that we want to pay you $200K, that's okay. But is his advisors getting a quick payoff in the back end? Is that why they said, hey, Ryan Garcia, this is a great deal? You have to take this deal.
It could be either way. It could be either way. And so, again, let's backtrack. real quick before we go into break. So what we're talking about is Ryan Garcia versus Golden Boy version 2.
Who's at fault?
Who's at fault? Here are some facts. We'll let you determine this. Hit us up on Twitter at DuCross, the DuCross Bros. You can hit us up on Facebook DuCross Brothers. Let us know what you think about it, or just drop a comment on our YouTube page. Let us know, what side are you on? So let's start off with the facts as we go into break. Ryan Garcia made $250,000 the last 2 fights. He was scheduled to come back July 4th on DAZN. No longer fighting on the headline. Was notified that DAZN and Golden Boy had agreed to return in July on a limited budget. Garcia was offered $200,000. His team said no.
A $50K pay cut.
Fight is off. Golden Boy pressured DAZN to come back sooner than DAZN wanted. DAZN was planning to come back in September. Golden Boy pressured them to come back in July.
DAZN's finances are in trouble?
Underneath a limited budget. Tristan just said it. DAZN is in financial hardship right now. Not sure on the details or what extent it is.
But they are looking to sell DAZN, a full, complete sell of DAZN. That's how financial trouble they are in.
DAZN pays a licensing deal to Golden Boy for the year. Golden Boy is supposed to use that money as purse money. So where's the rest of the money going?
Losing possible contracts with Bellator, MMA. I mean,
so
this is
plenty
nasty
of information there to cycle through. So please let us know.
Yeah.
Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on Facebook.
Where's your thought process at?
Drop us a comment. Let us know, what side are you on? Because my guys over on Sided point the fingers
at Golden Boy.
I point the finger at Golden Boy.
I will join that too and point the finger at Golden Boy. We're the DuCross brothers. Shaun and Tristen DuCross cross the line. We'll be right back after this. We got Dana White versus everyone, including the media. More with the DuCross brothers right after this. The DuCross brothers, the sports warriors, Shaun and Tristen DuCross, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We rip headlines from combat sports around the world to give you our opinions and our takes on what's going on in the combat sports world. We'll also preview fight cards from Bellator, MMA, UFC, you name it, around the world. We will preview it. We will break it down. We are one of the most transparent combat sports talk shows that are out there. Enjoy it. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can find us on YouTube or you can find us on Facebook. Either way, tune in Wednesday nights. All right, we are back. Tristen DuCross, Shaun DuCross. I love Auntie. Thank you for sponsoring us. Appreciate it. You can use DuCross Bros. Save 10% off all your CBD needs. My brother uses CBD rub. I use the CBD oil for anxiety and stuff like that. Amazing stuff. So if you want to save 10%, go to iloveauntie.com. Use promo code DuCross Bros. Save 10%. Get your CBD needs. You can go to our Facebook, the DuCross Bros, get the pin link, and join ESPN Plus. So you can watch UFC. You can watch, the Mark McGuire and the Sammy Sosa thing that's going on. I mean, that stuff's pretty cool. I got to watch the Lance Armstrong one. That was pretty cool. I like that. That was cool. But yeah, Dana White versus everyone. Everyone. I say that because I think it's getting to the point where he's just fed up with stupidity. And how many times have I said, Shaun, that I am fed up of stupidity?
But whose fault is it? Again, Dana White has been so outspoken.
Yeah.
And says stuff that he shouldn't.
Go ahead.
Says stuff that he shouldn't, but he does. He's outlandish at times.
Yes, he is.
It's mind-boggling at times. Now you've got fighters crossing that line? And at what point is enough enough? Like I heard Anthony Smith last night say that there used to be an unwritten
code, a fighter's code,
where like you don't say certain things and this and that. And I can kind of see that, but it's as if now is so transparent that it's like you've heard Nick Diaz outspoken about contract issues.
I just think we need to stop being so damn soft as a society.
And that's where the point comes from, is like, I've said it 1,000 times. As a society, we're so soft, we're so sensitive to certain situations, and then we blow things up that's like this big and becomes this big.
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm at with this now, is Jorge Masvidal took to Twitter, and like we talked about a week ago, was that independent contractors and getting paid and wanting out of the contract and saying that things like, oh, well, it's a take it or leave it type of thing.
And most of the time I can get it. Like I can understand it, because you're looking at an independent contractor versus an organization, you know? It's not like UFC is ran like Major League Baseball or ran like the NFL or ran like the NHL. They are ran like the WWE, right? Like pro wrestling is how the UFC is essentially ran. That's the takeaway from this. So when you are saying like Jorge Masvidal is complaining about fighters' pay, you are talking about John Jones complaining about fighters' pay, Henry Cejudo complaining about fighters' pay. Do they have a leg to stand on?
And they do, because they have not been getting paid what fighters should be getting paid for putting their lives, I guess you could say, on the line. Because
dude, a company that was bought for what $4 billion?
Yeah. So you look at the outcome of the situation and you see that. Let's just talk about Jorge Masvidal, okay? He says that he was forced to take a contract that longer than he wanted. So UFC says you take a 3-fight agreement, or you just simply go look for another job. He said that he wanted a 4-fight deal, and then that was it. That was an issue. So my question to him was, well, then why did you take it? If you didn't want that contract, why did you take it? Why did
Ryan Garcia, Sean?
Why did you not try to negotiate for better pay?
Honestly, I think that it comes down to the point where it's your boss. You don't question your boss. Sean, you get a pay raise, right? 25 cents a pay raise. Do you question your boss? I did X, Y, and Z. I deserve the max out. Give me the max out raise. Nope. Can't do that.
You know,
it's not in my budget.
You know what was interesting? Is that so Henry Masvidal has said that why are all the major names having issues? Conor, Jones, Cejudo. We have to simply take it or retire. My question is, well, why do you have to retire?
To get out of the contract.
But why? You put yourself in that position.
Facts.
Like, yeah, you wanted a 4-fight contract, and then you signed an 8-fight deal. You asked for a 4-fight. They said, we'll give you an 8-fight contract. Take it or leave it. So why didn't you just leave it? Why didn't you go test what your worth was? It,
right, and you believe your worth is far more than what the UFC is paying, why are you signing a contract that you do not like? Right? Like, I don't get it. Why? Because the 3 initials is UFC, that you believe that you can only fight for the greatest organization in the history of combat sports because it has 3 letters. It is the UFC.
Like, you're doing this to yourself.
You're putting yourself in this position.
At what point? Again, we've been advocate for the fighters for years.
For a union, for fighters' pay. We've been right there.
We've been the advocates for it. But yet you've got fighters like Jorge Masvidal who's pointing fingers at everybody else, and yet he's single-handedly responsible
for his own contract.
undoing.
Right.
And then he wants to make a comment about, well, those white knights. That comment.
In the world that we are in right now, you use those words.
But yet he was talking about like Daniel Cormier.
Right. The commentators.
The commentators. John Anik. Joe Rogan. The list goes on. But yet he's quick to point and say, well, this guy's at fault here.
Right.
And yet this guy shouldn't be speaking here. Daniel Cormier went on Ariel and DC show and said that, well, when I had an issue with Dana White, we had a very uncomfortable conversation.
We had a yelling match.
So if Daniel Cormier can do the same thing, and we know Connor's probably done the same thing. Connor's always got what he's wanting because he's not afraid to either hold out.
He's been assertive.
He's not afraid to hold out, to talk about what his worth is. You either want him or you don't. Jorge Masvidal has always been quick to sign on that dotted line.
Yep.
But yet here he is pointing fingers and not taking fights and saying it's their fault, not my fault. But yet, if you want a 4-fight contract, but yet you're the guy that signs an 8-fight deal, whose fault is that?
My only gripe about fighters complaining about fighters' pay right now when you're signed underneath the UFC contract is the fact that there's no way that your boss should make more money than you. Just saying. There's no way Dana White should be making more money than a fighter.
Well, yes, because he runs the whole promotion.
I disagree with that.
We talked about that the last time. That's apples and oranges. We're talking about fighters. So, I have a hard time on the fence with this one. Except for, I agree with John Jones deserving more money. You heard that last week.
Yep.
I agree with that one. I agree with Henry Seguro. I agree with those guys. I just don't agree with which Jorge Masvidal is going about it right now. The wording, the terminology, but yet the facts don't back with what he's saying because he did it to himself. I have a hard time deciphering that.
A little bit.
So in that case, it's like, dude, just if you don't want to be there, don't be there. You're the one that's tied into a contract now that you have to retire.
Well, what about the situation about where he called out the media? About the Connor situation, about the clickbait issues and stuff like that.
Again, that's common theme because again, I see it now is that I could go through like 5-6 different sites analyzing and breaking down information, getting ready for the show and stuff like that. And it's like, well, this person said this one person said this one. But yet you'll have maybe 1 out of the 5 that has seemingly the correct facts and correct information presented while you're looking at certain other websites that are there to try to get you to get either a rise out of you or try to get the next best soundbite. And it's our job to decipher as best as we can what is real, what is fake, what is fictional, and try to give you our spin on what may be real, what may not be real.
One thing you get from us 100% of the time is complete transparency, 100% what we are about. We don't lie about headlines. We don't lie about, we don't make up clickbait titles to get you to come. You either like us or you don't.
You're going to come watch us because you like what we say.
You cross that line because you want something different. You believe in something different. So you cross that line and you join us. You hit that subscribe button to follow us. You follow us on our social media because you want to. We don't garner a clout. We don't garner attention. We don't. And the fact that Dana White had to sit there and call out big headlines, big media outlets. Dude, we worked for one. We did not like how it was ran. We left. Good deal? Bad deal? Whatever. So when you see all these people say, well, I'm better than this, I'm better at this. Yeah, because, dude, all you are is lying to everybody. You create false narratives. You create false headlines so you can get your bottom dollar, your clickbait, your tap. That's what you're about. Dana White called exactly how he saw it. Dana White had every right to say that stop all the bullshit. You are a media outlet. Act like it.
Right?
Act professional. We've been at this game for how long, Sean?
For quite a while. Yeah, it's either
and
good,
I will never go into the bullshit. I will never go down a rabbit hole like half the combat sports want to. People do this for clout. People do this for think that because well, if somebody can do it, then I can do it.
Right?
I can have a show because so can have a show. We do this because we love it. We do it because this has been from day one. This has been what we've wanted to do from day one. This ain't no joke. This ain't no game. This ain't nothing. This is exactly where we've wanted to be. This is what we wanted to do, and we will continue to do it. And we will continue to provide the transparency and the authenticity of media, of combat sports, because that's what we are about. And Dana White finally, I think more media people need to actually look at themselves in the mirror and come on, take this seriously.
Right? Don't just go about it and say, oh, well, I'm getting a paycheck. Really? Really? We don't get a paycheck to do this. I wish we did, but we don't get a paycheck.
Nope.
But I'll leave it on that thought, man. We'll talk about WWE Backlash
next week. Yeah. But we are the DuCross Brothers Sports Warriors. I hope you enjoy. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification if you're on YouTube. Follow us. Social media platforms, Twitter, at the DuCross Bros. Instagram, the.sports.warriors. You can get us on there. The DuCross Bros on Facebook, or Shaun and Tristen DuCross on Facebook. You want something different? We're your boys. Cross that line. We're the DuCross Brothers. Shout out to I Love Auntie. Get your CBD needs. Use promo code DuCross Bros. Until next time, next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on Facebook and on YouTube, on your social medias. We're your boys. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now, the ultimate Octagon Insider, Shaun and Tristen DuCross.